Hi guys, welcome to the first pattern making video. I am going to go ahead and start with our first skirt pattern. So I've already uploaded to our Teams class the assignment sheet for the Project 4 patterns. The first one in the set is the A-line flared skirt. In your book, it's on page 283. I'm not sure if you can see this, but it's just a slightly flared skirt. So what we're going to be doing in this lesson is using our basic skirt blocks, front with the shorter darts and the back with the longer darts. We're going to be using these two blocks to create our A-line flared skirt pattern. Keep in mind that the blocks, if they were to be turned into a pattern, so if we added seam allowance all the way around and stitched these up and sewed them together, these would give us a knee-length straight skirt. So from the hip, it would just go straight down. So essentially a pencil skirt, but straight down, not tapered in at all. And we'll be using these blocks to create all the skirt patterns that are part of the Project 4 pattern set. So the first step, if you're reading along in the book, you'll see it says trace your front and back basic skirt to preferred length. I'm going to go ahead and just trace the blocks as they are. But what those instructions are referring to is that if you wanted to create a long A-line flared skirt, you would first lengthen your block to the length you want it to be, say floor length. Or if you wanted to do a little short flared skirt, you'd shorten a tracing of the block to what you want your finished length to be. But for this particular demo, I'm just going to leave the block length as is. So I went ahead and traced my back skirt and the front skirt. Now I'm trying to be as efficient as I possibly can, so I'm really just going to pack everything together to use as little paper as possible. I went ahead and traced them off, and I drew in the darts. And now what I'm going to do is cut these out separately, and then I'll be back with the first couple steps. Hey guys, all right, I traced the front and back skirt, and I cut them out. And the next step in the book mentions making slash lines from the dart closest to the side seam. So on my front view, this dart here is the one closest to the side seam. That's the curved edge. I made a line straight down that's parallel with center front. One way you can make sure it's parallel is if you measure the distance from center front to the dart point straight across, and then just down at the bottom of your skirt, measure over that same distance and make a little dot. Then use your ruler to make a line connecting the dart point to that little dot. That means your line is parallel to center front. So I did that for my front, and I did that for the back. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut on the slash lines. I also just wanted to show you that I labeled each side of the slash line on the front A and B, and over here on the back view, C and D. And I recommend you set up your workspace just like I have mine, with the front on the left, the back on the right. This is just the way it is in the book. That way we'll be on the same page. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the slash lines. I'm also going to remove the dart excess just above each slash line on the front and the back, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I cut the slash lines. So my front opens up down here, and I also removed the excess above the slash line for the front and for the back. Now what I'm going to do on my front view is close the dart at the top and tape it closed. So I want to close it so the two dart legs just meet. And you can see what that does is open up some excess down here. Now this is not a new dart. We're just going to leave this as added fullness. The skirt's just going to get a little wider at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and tape it down. Just trying to align it with my pattern paper. And it looks like I'm going to need a little bit more paper at the end here. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in a sec. What I want you to notice on the front, though, is that we have a distance now from A to B, and we need to know what it is. I'm going to measure it, and it is just about 3 inches. So I've added 3 inches to the circumference, or what the bottom of the hemline is going to be. What I want to do is take half that number and add it to the side seam so that I get the fullness more evenly distributed around the skirt. So what I'm going to do next is tape a little bit of paper onto where I'm working, and then I'm going to add 1.5 inches to the side skirt here. All right, so I've taped some additional paper over on the side here, and I'm going to go ahead and add some fullness to the side seam. So again, the distance between A and B was 3. I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches now to the side seam. So I'm going to align my ruler with the bottom of this section and just go out, straight out from there, 1.5 inches. So that brought me out to here. Then what I'm going to do is all right. Hey guys, I think the video cut out a little before I was finished, so I wanted to show you how on the side of the front I'm adding 1.5 inches. So here's the 1.5 inches. At that point, you are taking your ruler and connecting the 1.5 inches to the fullest part of the hip. So you can just kind of swing the ruler, and when it touches the hip line, that's where you know you're going to make a line connecting the 1.5 inch extension to the hip line. The other thing we need to do is make sure this corner is a 90-degree angle, so a perfect L essentially. So if you take one of these lines in your ruler and align them with your new side seam, you can trace off 1.5 inches at the bottom, and now this corner is a perfect 90-degree angle. This original line we made, extending it out 1.5 inches, goes away. I'm just going to darken my line a little bit. Like that. So that's what the new side seam should look like. Now on the back, I've taped the back down, and again I've left space to add 1/2 inch at center back, and I also taped on some paper here at the side. Now in order to keep the back and the front balanced, that is to make sure we're adding the exact same amount of fullness to the back that we did at the front, we're going to open up on our slash line until the distance between C and D measures 3 inches. So, oops, let me get my ruler here. Okay, so now from C to D is 3 inches. Take that down. All right. Now up here at the top, not sure if you guys can see, but right up here, this dart closest to the side seam did not close all the way. There's a little bit left in here, about 1/8 inch excess. So we don't want to keep that there as a tiny little dart. We want to get rid of it, but we need to take it up somewhere else. Otherwise, the waistline on the back would be a little bit larger. So what we're going to do is take up this excess by adding the excess to the remaining dart on the back. So if I have 1/8 inch here, let me pencil this in so you can see. Just going to draw it here. If I have 1/8 inch, then what I want to do is add half that amount to either side of this dart. So that would be a 1/16 inch. So not a whole lot, tiny bit. So on either side of the dart, I'm measuring out a 1/16 inch and then connecting that new dart leg up to the vanishing point of the dart, or the dart point. So this dart is now just a little bit bigger. We can ignore this excess here. The distance between C and D is 3 inches, just like the distance between A and B over here. And at the side, I'm going to go ahead and add it 1.5 inches, just like I did on the front. This ensures that the back skirt has the same amount of added fullness as the front skirt, and it helps keep it balanced so that the front isn't bigger, excuse me, the back isn't bigger than the front. So I'm just going to take my ruler, I'm aligning it with the bottom of this section here and extending out 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier. I'm going to take my ruler, and from that 1.5 inch point, I'm going to swing it until it hits the widest part of the hip on the back. And then connect that up in a straight line. So this is now going to be my new side seam for the back. Again, I need to make sure this corner here is a 90-degree angle. So one way to do that is just to align the ruler with the new side seam and trace the bottom 1.5 inches. So now I know this is 90 degrees. This original line goes away. At this point, I am done with the pattern manipulation, and I can go ahead and add seam allowance, grain lines, etc. One last thing I forgot to mention is you do just want to make a line from C to D. All right, I'll go ahead and finish the patterns and show them to you finished. All right, here are the finished patterns. So I cut out the front, added 1/2 inch seam allowance everywhere except center front. This would be cut on the fold. I labeled it with my grain line 1 inch over from center front, added a punch hole 1/2 inch from the dart point, and notches at the dart legs and the side seam and also the hemlines. That's the front. And then over here is the back view. So same thing, added 1/2 inch all the way around, including at center back. This piece would be cut 2. Punch hole 1/2 inch from the dart point and notches at the dart legs, the side seam, and the hem. And that is it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll upload soon.